Hello, everyone. A new key discovery, and shout out to Quant Papa in that regard, about Quant and a thing called Red Belly.
Get in my belly!
Now, for some people that follow Red Belly, you may feel as though that there is no Quant connection whatsoever. Is that true? Smash that like. Consider sticking to the end of the outline because now we have another example, once again, in regards to standards and more importantly, understanding that it's not just the M10 when it comes to a lot of TPS transactions per second. So let's jump right into the material. First thing I'm going to pull up is this. It's basically a United States patent. Yes, you heard me right. Could there be something once again for Quant Network in the United States other than just, for example, what we saw about Gilbert Verdian potentially being the culprit of FedNow, or how he's sat on that chair position since 2017 in regards to the New York Federal Reserve, and again the whole thing with FedNow. So check this out. It is this screenshot that needs to be shared basically first. And again, huge thanks to Quant Papa for providing all these really cool visuals, because when you get more into it, you will see firsthand why we cite some of these things, but more importantly, understand this key patent. Let's go ahead and full screen it. United States patent, Gromoli ET, and then like it says AL, abbreviations. Blockchain system and method. Applicants, Commonwealth Scientific Industrial Research Organization, more importantly, University of Sydney, as in Sydney, Australia. Inventors, some of the people you see here, Vincent Gromoli and some of these other ones. But again, the assignee is Red Belly Blockchain Holdings Pty Limited. Now, if you're a hardcore quant enthusiast, you already know where we're going with this. This is an update, everybody. So you see plain as day, the stamp of approval, it's got the right credentials, and again, United States of America, it's all there. What's crucial to understand is where we go as far as Quant Network. Well, we got to establish this first, though. Red Belly Network announced basically on the 4th that they've been awarded the U.S. patent, and again, for you guys that want to know which number, is 12093.247 for the disruptive, quote, blockchain, system and method. This patent locks in what makes Red Belly Network special. Our leaderless, democratic, Byzantine, fault-tolerance DBFT protocol that delivers blazing fast, secure, and accountable transactions. And here's the kicker, guys. No forks, no lost transactions, just instant finality every time. I mean, if I was a person that was only invested in Ripple XRP and Stellar, and I mean, heck, even BSV and some of these other ones, I mean, this would catch my attention. Look what it says. We are proud to officially be at the cutting edge of blockchain innovation, building the foundation for compliant, high-value tokenization across industries. How many times have we talked about these high-value transactions? More importantly, tokenization. So they give a shout out to some of these particular people. They cite that screenshot I gave you. And if anything, their community is really happy. I mean, I would be too. Now check this out. As we get further into Red Belly Network, it talks about how it's, again, the world's only public purpose built real world asset tokenization network. All right. Some people say, well, of course they're going to be involved with Quant because of where they're located. Not necessarily. I mean, how many times have you seen examples here in the United States? Just because somebody's located in the United States doesn't mean they're working with them, right? But what gets interesting is all of the announcements, recent announcements, okay? So the first thing I actually want to get into is this pinned tweet. I know that we're not supposed to call it that anymore, but let's just call it that for this purpose. That dates back to October 8th. So they recognize tokenization of 70 billion in carbon credits, first step in bringing 2 trillion of assets on chain by 2025. I mean, we're just months away from 2025. Does it happen at the end of 2025? We don't know, but the world's first initiative promises to disrupt carbon markets with transparency and, of course, trust. Now, the significance about this is what I recently talked about in regards to what everybody. Remember I talked about in that video about XRP, gold, and XLM, for example, silver, XDC copper, and I was talking about what stands out for quant in regards to like, when we talked about gold and, the analogy of diamonds and stuff like that, right? So this being the first initiative that promises to disrupt this, I think there's something big here. And more importantly, there's so many recent, posts on X literally hours ago. This is a good one too. Drum rolls. National ID support launches on November 13th. How many times do we see Gilbert Verdian and the Quant Network and all this focus about what they're doing in Europe in regards to these national IDs? So Japan stands out for that, especially with Jasmine and the My Number card. Again, back to the whole thing with Europe. So that launches literally days from now. We are at November 7th. So less than about a week. Says you read that right. Starting November 13th, Red Belly's network testnet will support national IDs and driver's licenses from nearly every country. Get ready to experience Red Belly's fast compliant blockchain. Now, if you don't know about Red Belly, you're probably wondering, again, where I'm going with this. But again, we're going to get to this. I want to lay down a solid outline for you guys to really, really understand this. 10 hours ago, another big thing from Red Belly. Thrilled to announce that their founder and CTO, Vincent Grimoli, remember that guy from that patent, will be speaking at the Scholars in Blockchain International Symposium, which is also the world's first professors of blockchain. I mean, I love this. Symposium hosted by the Center for Evidence Based on Blockchain under the auspices of the, I'll zoom in a little bit more, British Blockchain Association, BBA, on the 8th of November. So that's literally tomorrow. More than 100 plus blockchain and crypto professors from across 6 continents are set to participate in this event to discuss evidence-based advancements in blockchain technology. Now, here's the thing. Remember how we talked about auspices? We said that literally the definition, there's like 2 definitions, but one mentioned like a divine token. Literally, you can't make this up. Go look up the definition for yourself. It talks about divine tokens. So that's interesting to see them post that. And more importantly, as you get more into it, it's the world's first international gathering of leading blockchain professors from 6 countries. This is a huge deal. Jumping back, another announcement 17 hours ago. In the race of, to tokenize real world assets, second place will be a wide margin to the winner. The chain that captures the most real world assets will dominate the future of finance beyond digitizing assets to create new markets through on-chain composability. All right, we're going to read more. And as you see here, people ask when. Well, now you have when. They just made some announcements. So interesting to see that. Now look at this. 21 hours ago, again, they're killing it with the news. It says they had an election behind us. There's no more certainty on how the next few years will look like. Let's refocus into the next $1 trillion opportunities. RWA and Red Belly. Right? There was another thing that was announced not that long ago. Yeah, here it is. This is really good. Back to my reference about like if I was in Ripple XRP and hearing about cross-border payments and high TPS, even Hedera, right? Like, some of those ones really stand out when it comes to the TPS, and especially BSV. That's like the king of TPS, right? Our mainnet launch is just around the corner. In this latest blog, we dive deep into what makes Red Belly Network the future of blockchain. Now, I don't want to make this 1 or 2 hours on this particular one. Maybe in the future on a live show I'll do that. But look what it says. Lightning fast transaction with 15,000 plus TPS. Now, for some of you guys that just are only in the BSV, you're going to laugh at this because you're like, over 1 million TPS over there. I get that. But the point is, it's actually more than this. And they talk about some of that scalability. So I thought I would jump into some of this stuff. And there's this gentleman, and I'll introduce him here in a bit, but he gets more into like the weeds about this. And, I just think it's crucial to understand this stuff. So there's this guy from mirror.xyz, and, he posted this 2 years ago. So shout out to him. Give him a follow. Is I mean, I'm glad to see people like this. This is Silo Sibe. I'm probably not pronouncing it right. If he watches this, I apologize, sir, for butchering it up. But he has an excellent outline in regards to this. So he goes in to mention about this whole thing of red belly. And basically, he gets, again, really into some great stuff that people don't know about. Number one, he talks about, for example, not just the team and the board, right? But he gets into some of the fundamentals about this. So he mentions specifically, like, some key things that we all know about, like the Accenture connection in regards to red belly and so on. So it says Block 8 have worked with R3 and Australia's new payment platform. JP and Deutsche Bank are connected. Vincent Grimoli, again, back to that guy, part of the whole thing of that patent, is a pillar to the tech side of things. Superloop is the leading broadband provider in Australia, prominent in Southeast Asia. Now, look what it also goes on to mention. Talks about, for example, a mortgage marketplace. I mean, these are real world assets, right? Block 8, joint ventures with founders, domain leading companies, and experts to incubate innovative applications, disrupt industries. And they have like a ton of experience here, right? But when I got more into it, mentioned specifically about smart contracts, which is good. We're going to reference that. But some of the other things caught my attention. AI company, right? They mentioned about interacting with digital humans, and some of this stuff is just like, huh. It's like, this gets interesting because we talked about like salience, especially with quant and all that. And as I got further down to it, it's like, okay, UK banks, all right? And some people feel like, well, so what? I mean, it's just a big, you know, a nothing burger, Max. Get to the point. All right, well, check this out. As I got further down into red belly in itself, what caught my attention is this right here, the tech. Because we could talk about this till we're blue in the face. It's what the tech, you know, that's what stands out. I will read this part verbatim because it's really good. Red Belly blockchain is being developed as a solution, or already has been, right, to issues that, basically dog current generation blockchains such as scalability, double spending, forks, and energy consumption. I mean, remember how they mentioned they're not a fork of any of this? So, Red Belly achieved this by introducing a unique consensus model called deterministic Byzantine consensus. This consensus model allows for confirmation when a threshold for the number of messages have been received. I mean, messages? Allowing for slow nodes to be excluded from consensus. These slow nodes are called weak coordinators, and they're vital to the function of the new algorithm. All right, you guys just want the juicy stuff. I get it. Previous tests of the Red Belly blockchain, which involved 300 machines localized in a single data center, reached speeds of 660,000 transactions per second. Now, that is huge. So, I want you guys to understand this, okay? While the blockchain is intended, like it says, to function, basically speaking, excuse me, I got some little bit of a cold. So while it's expected to, do anywhere between public and private blockchain, the intended function is, again, its use case being aimed at the financial sector, as well as exploring its uses in industries such as agriculture, education, and so on. So again, what examples you have in regards to transactions? So it says the 30,000 transactions were reportedly transmitted across 14 to 18 geographic regions covered by Amazon Web Services, including North America, South America, Asia Pacific, the Sydney area, Europe, with an average latency of 3 seconds per transaction. All right, that sounds really impressive in regards to 660,000. To me, this is the most I've seen since like BSV, but we know that BSV is like, for example, that's more focused on decentralization, and people say that like Quant and XRP and Stellar and Hedera, like that's the centralized stuff, right? My attitude is I'm an investor. I'm gonna buy both. Okay, that way I can play both sides of the fence. I'm not trying to join some cult. I'm just trying to be an investor and get gains. A lot of you guys do the same thing as well. All right. We want to get into the politics of this. We can pick and choose numerous things of why to be in things and not to be in things, right? Or in this case, investments. But the key thing is understanding, everybody, the goals and if there's supply and demand behind the whole thing. So their goal is to implement a censorship resistance replicated state machine, which is called RSM. By censorship resistance, we mean that any transaction issued by properly, like requester, gets committed by the system, like it says, hence preventing censorship. By replicated state machine, we refer to a way of totally ordering sets of transactions in the form of a blockchain, starting from the Genesis block. Does that not sound familiar? So that all transactions are provisioned and more linear, I guess you could say. To this end, we require to solve a variant of the BFT consensus problem. I mean, we're familiar with Byzantine fault tolerance, right? To agree on an enumerable valid subset of the union of the proposed values as follows. And it gets, again, into all of it. Here's the thing, okay? Each node is equal, making the consensus not a competitive one. Every block presents a set of transactions. The decision is the combination of what is proposed. There's no transactions that are committed if there is a partition. It favors consistency over availability, okay? And, some of the terminology is super impressive, especially if you're really into like Bitcoin and stuff, right? The DBFT waits for a threshold of messages and forms what is referred to as a super block of transactions that reach the threshold. This strategy means the DFBT can execute a higher throughput the more people participate. So that's an incentive in itself. It seems like it's a really big deal, all right? Is there legislation? Well, according to this, Ricardian contracts with its legislation and compliance at the heart of its future-proofs RBBC to the oncoming regulation, with RBBC working closely with the Australian government, who are going to roll out legislation in the next few years. I mean, you could put 2 and 2 together. I mean, of course, you guys could research this more if you're the nerd that wants to do this, but you can go to mirror.xyz/PCYBE.eth, okay? And you can look up a little bit more about this, okay? I don't want to get too technical because I'm going to lose some of you guys. Probably already did. But again, that was super impressive to see the whole thing about, 660,000 transactions per second. Because we know that, for example, when we talk about the RLN, there's, for example, the M10. And we talked about, Quant basically allows scalability or allows, for example, interoperability pretty much with any blockchain. And then it just uses whatever is available of that blockchain, to scale and, reach consensus and so on. But again, there's also the M10, and that's supposed to be like 1 million TPS, which is insane. It's more than going to get the job done. This brings another element to the whole thing. All right, here's the point. One thing that was mentioned was in regards to not just Red Belly, but Data 61. Emphasis on Data 61 because that connection with Red Belly, okay? Here's what's interesting. As I pull this up for you guys, there's a PDF. You can go to webhost.laas.fr, which is a French site, but you can, you could download the PDF or you could just connect. Like when you download a PDF, you can actually right click on it and have it open up with Chrome. That way it interprets French or any language to English, just in case you guys didn't know that. All right, so let's go to page 1 of 30 of this PDF. This is from Ciro, and again, it cites this day 1 session with Data 61. Blockchain in action, Data 61, blockchain R&D. Dr. Shiping Chen, Senior Principal Research Scientist, Data 61. Okay? So this is back in Melbourne, Australia, 2022, Australia's National Science Agency. And what's important for your understanding here is what we jump down to, like, is there any connection to the Quant Network Standard, ISO TC 307? And yes, the answer is yes, because as you can see here, boil it, mash it, stick in the stew. What do you see? You see plain as day research, smart contracts, government and education, but more importantly, the community. And you do, plain as day, in the highlight, see ISO TC 307. Okay? And you also see the IETF, Internet Engineering Task Force, because we already know the connection with them with Quant, RFC on blockchain interoperability. All right? And remember how many times recently we've seen Gilbert Vernon talk about, you know, the standard for digital finance? It's not just the standard for building on blockchain, but Quant Networks, you know, with Overledger, ISO TC 307, you know, standard for digital finance. And what do you see on the bottom right? Digital finance, future of finance. Like, this is not just a coincidence anymore. Okay? Government education. Again, you see all this. And then what you see right here as well, blockchain standards, blockchain distributed ledger technologies. Again, it's all there. ISO TC 307. Okay? Very cool to see that. And more importantly, right below it, you see Internet Engineering Task Force on blockchain interoperability. And again, with MIT, some people point out like, oh, it's just a big coincidence about MIT and, you know, the Quant connection. No, it's not. How many times do you see Thomas Harjano of MIT, you know, doing collaborative work with the Quant Network because of TC 307? It's all there. And you, again, front row center, IETF, Standards Australia, MIT, ISO. Okay? As I take you over to here, I want you guys to see this. ResearchGate.net. Tons of researchers use ResearchGate. I mean, literally. I mean, it's literally written in the name. All right. What do we have in regards to Data 61? Well, from ResearchGate.net, this publication, referred to as Blockchain Standard, How Can We Reach Consensus, right? Or can we reach consensus? You see Vincent Grimaldi. Yes, the same guy from, example, what you saw earlier in regards to Red Belly. Okay, so Data 61 is mentioned about, I don't know, 3 times here, give or take. But you see blockchain standard, can we reach it? Vincent Grimaldi, University of Sydney, Data 61, and you see Mark Staples. Now, I'll say this, as we get further into this, more emphasis on Mark Staples. Why? Well, here's the thing. If you were to go more into this, they talk about how in this paper they study ongoing blockchain and distributed ledger technologies. But it says, to this end, we list standards, organization, and the efforts they devote to standardize blockchain DLT. Well, if that's the case, Quant Networks is standard with ISO TC 307. It's literally the standard for building on blockchain, right? Check this out. From the same PDF, does it mention anything about Quant Network standard of TC 307? And the answer is, boom, right here. Once again, boil it, mash it, stick it in that darn stew, because it says a major standardization initiative has been initiated on blockchain and distributed ledger technology through a technical committee of the International Organization of Standardization, or for Standardization. Boom. I'll highlight it just in case you didn't see it. ISO TC 307, the Quant Network Standard, and it's summarized in section 4. This goal is an ambitious one, and it's the focus, and you know, it's all there, right? A little bit more about this. Look at this other one. International organizations. Back to the whole thing that ISO has created a technical committee, ISO TC 307, for standardizing blockchain distributed ledger technologies. And talks about that secretariat is led by Standards Australia. So you have these guys, they're literally from Australia. This has already been put in place years ago, you know? And if you want more of that citation, you can go to blockchain.ieee.org, and there's also itu.int study groups 2017 to 2020 pages like Q14. Okay, my bad. Anyway, a little bit more about this. They talk about the proposed standards. Literally right below it, you see or above it, I should say, ISO TC 307. And then below all this, you see ISO related DLT standards, which are under development as reported in the technical report. And who do you see cited here from 2018? Grimaldi and Staples. Interesting to see that. Yes, because the technical committees of 307 comprises of 46 active members, 14 observing members as of April 2021. If anything, it's higher than that, right? So that's all there. You better believe it's all there. Okay, now check this out. These guys put a book together. Okay, more importantly, Mark Staples, you know, Architecture for Blockchain Applications. You know, if you guys really want the book, you can get it. It's on, for example, Amazon. And, you know, maybe you get a used one for cheaper. I don't know. Maybe you want the new one. Maybe you don't want it at all. But the point is, the book addresses what software architects and developers need to, excuse me, fighting this whole a little bit of a cold, not too bad. But anyway, need to know in order to build applications based on blockchain tech by offering the architectural view of software systems that make beneficial use of blockchains. So interesting to see some of this stuff. And, it's always good to read things that, let's face it, are not freely available on the internet, different perspectives. And once again, if you go to research.cicero or Cicero, CSIRO.au, well, what do we have? Software and computational systems. More importantly, person of emphasis, like I pointed out earlier, Dr. Mark Staples. Why? Look what it says. If you hear a pause, it's because I'm coughing. I don't want to cough in the mic. Anyway, it's Dr. Mark Staples, research group leader. Again, like what we mentioned in the outline, regulation technology program. I will read this verbatim. This is good. I don't want to skip this. Mark is a senior principal researcher in the SCS program, leads a challenge pilot across Data 61 on visible and connected supply chains. He coordinates blockchain research at Data 61 and leads various blockchain projects, including work towards the Australian chains. Or national blockchain, excuse me. He is the Data 61 representative on Standards Australia Blockchain and Distributed Ledger Technology Standardization Committee as part of ISO Technical Committee TC307. That's a quant network standard. Mark joined Data 61 in 2015. Now, for some of you people that feel as though that none of this is recent, well, check this out. It is, because as you see right here, this particular one that was written about this, dating back to 2018, they updated it October 22nd. That was just, what, roughly like a couple weeks ago, if that? So all this is worth pointing out, and more importantly, it's basically this, everybody. Here's the bottom line, and we'll wrap this up here real soon. The bottom line is understanding that in order to achieve interoperability, you already have this standard. ISO TC307 is literally the standard for building on blockchain. You have examples of Red Belly or some of these other ones out there and so on. When we talk about bridge currencies, understand there's also concepts of bridges when it comes to tokenization, but not just bridges. It's the interoperability function. As we know, you need to achieve interoperability, but you have to talk to that network of the quant network through the overledger and so on. And we know for these institutions or other projects and so on, in order for them to use the overledger, well, it takes some QNT. And there's only a limited supply of QNT. Some people feel like, well, does it take a full QNT? It just depends on the use case and what they're doing. But the key thing is, when I talk about utility being put into motion, it's understanding that when we talk about real world asset tokenization, which quant network will definitely stand out in that regard, you start multiplying all this stuff up of what's been being built and who is being built by and what they already achieved. In this case, some of the recent patents and approvals and so on. We are seeing countless examples, but the price doesn't reflect it yet. Exactly. Back to the analogy of, you go down to your local new restaurant, they already built it up, you drive by it all the time. Do you see people in that restaurant buying the food and exchanging money to buy that food? No, but it's been built and they're going to open up. They're going to have a grand opening. My key thing is watch out for the ones that do have those grand openings. And if anything, watch out for the ones that are going to have regulations, right? Because we know this is going to come up in 2025 at some point. Literally, we see the writing on the wall and have seen examples. In the other video, I even outlined that. So the key thing is regulations, and you maybe get tired of hearing this, is the fuel to turbocharge all this stuff. So again, back to the restaurant analogy. There is literally nobody in the restaurant, but if anything, they realize that they're part of that chain, right? Like, let's face it. Here's a good example one more time. Another great analogy. PepsiCo. Think about this for a second. PepsiCo owns KFC. They own, Kentucky Fried Chicken. We do chicken right. Remember back in the 80s? We do chicken right. Well, QNT, we do blockchain right. Crazy analogy, right? Getting a little crazy with this period. I understand. But the point is, PepsiCo owns KFC, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut. That's a chain. If they open up a new Pizza Hut, are you going in there and exchanging anything? No, you got to wait for that Pizza Hut, though. That's the point I'm trying to get across with this. And when we talk about the metaverse, what about virtual Pizza Huts? Think about it. Somebody gets hungry inside that metaverse. There's multiple metaverses that they can have something delivered to their house. Pizza Hut, KFC. Well, I don't know about KFC. I don't know if there's KFC delivery. But my point is, utility being put into motion. But it has to be built first, and there has to be standards in place. And if anything, Quant has that interoperability. And I don't care what the case is. How many times have we referenced ISO TC307? How many times have we referenced all these new things in regards to AI? I mean, I'm doing research, and every single time I look for one key thing, other things are blossoming up, like other things are opening up, just like how Quant is with interoperability. Like, I'm like, that's interesting. I'll look into that. And I'm going to do my best to bring more info to you guys. I'm telling you flat out, do not sleep on Quant. If you're brand new, try to listen to some of this stuff. It's not financial advice. Maybe you don't want to listen to it. I'm just a researcher, but I'm trying to get people to be informed. Thanks for tuning in. God bless you all. We'll see you on the next one. Not yet. If you listen to the whole outline, do me a favor. It's just my little quick favor. And that is simply type this into the comments. And that is RB, as in Red Belly. And I know you listen to the entire outline. All right. With that said, thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. Say goodbye to complicated setups and hello to Decent Wallet, the hassle-free solution to your digital currency needs. With just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.